welcome to the No State Project. This is actually the first episode of live from the fortified compound in Mesa, Arizona for 2018, went to a new year. January 3rd, it is episode 46. Episode 46 already, so I appreciate everyone tuning in. Again, this is my YouTube stream that we do every Wednesday from 4 Mountain Standard Time to 5 Standard Time. I can't talk. 5 o'clock Mountain Standard Time. So I should just give the Arizona time. It's a lot easier. So if you're in Arizona, it's 4 o'clock. Glad to be with you here. Again, I want to thank everyone for their support, the continued support of the show. It is, as you can tell, we got a low budget going show here, but the content is top notch. Okay, I know that. So, but I do appreciate the continued support of the show. If you want to help support the show, you can go to my sales page, which will be linked down below. It's also on my website, markstevens.net. So if you are being attacked by a bureaucrat and you want to learn an effective way to defend yourself and not lose tens and tens of thousands, well, even just thousands of dollars by hiring an attorney to make a deal that you could make yourself, then go to check out markstevens.net. We got scripts, we got motion templates, and best of all, we've got a mountain of evidence to show that people just like me have replicated the results all over the world. We got 4 continents, including Israel, so thanks again to Eyal who does No State Project Israel for going against the man, where it's a little more dicey when you're in Israel because they have slander or libel laws that could cost you a lot of money if you criticize politicians. So I do appreciate the efforts there. So you can go to, when you go to the success page, you'll see that there's documentary proof of tickets, assessments, like the IRS or state assessments getting tossed out, and also drug charges, because what we discuss here on the big show every week is that if these prosecutors, if the accusers, which are government agents, people who call themselves the government or the state, if they had evidence that their constitution and laws, their sacred writ, applied to you and I, based on, just because of our physical location in North America, hey, they would be able to provide the evidence. They can't, because there is none. And so if you go to the Call of Shames, you see plenty of videos, and especially audio, where I have confronted even a sitting Supreme Court Chief Justice. What the best Scott Bales could do is say, the evidence proving the laws apply to me is because they put other people in prison, or other people. So also Government Indicted does have a full model on that has proven itself many times to get these things, these bogus charges thrown out. Check out markstevens.net, and I'll be talking about this stuff at Libertopia 2018. It's only a few months away. It's May 3rd through May 6th. So definitely check that out at libertopia.org and sign up and let them know you heard about it from Mark Stevens, who you want to see speak at Libertopia again. So, and we will be doing the big live show, the Saturday show. As always, we will be doing that live from Humphreys by the Bay. So definitely like to see everyone out there. I do want to make it clear that we challenge what we can prove, what's and to show that there is no state, there is no government. That the problem is that people accept as normal that it's okay for a small group of people to violate the basic principles of right and wrong that we understand by the time of 4 or 5, just because they call themselves a government. We know that that's the tool. I don't tolerate this crap about a big global Jewish conspiracy. So if you're a Jewish conspiracy kind of guy, just stay away from the chat. I'm going to start kickbanning people who are coming in and saying it's all the Jews. It's all the Jews. Yes, because the Jews were the ones that came up with the concept of government and were the first ones to force that on people. It's all the Jews and all the royalty in Europe, they're all secretly Jewish. Just like Obama was actually a Muslim. Yeah, sure. So the only religion we want to talk about here on the No State Project is the one that is the problem. And that is statism. And statism being the belief that just because you call yourself a government, you can do these things. You can lie, steal, kill, and cheat other people, and it's okay. It's okay. And so what's not okay is discussing the religion on the show. Just like when we talk about abortion. Okay? I know the knee-jerk reaction is don't force your religious BS on me. That's why I don't make a religion. We don't talk about religion. It's not a part of the show. Except for that their statism. Which is, of course, the single most dangerous religion in the world, because as dangerous as other religions can and have shown themselves to be, when you take out the foundational tool that is of government, the worship of human beings as if they have the special powers that the rules don't apply to them. That's the problem. Not some global alleged Jewish conspiracy, or it's the Masons. Yeah, even I got accused of being a Mason. Oh yeah, right. Someone did comment here, reification is a hell of a drug. Yeah, I'm telling you. And that's one of the things we're going up against. It's even though there's no evidence of it, I don't even want to get into it. To me, it's not even worth getting into. We don't discuss religion on the big show, and there's a hell of a reason for that. It's the hate on either side. I want to be judged based on my character, my actions. I don't want to be judged based on and automatically judged because I'm an atheist or because I'm an agnostic or I may be religious. The hate on both sides is just out of control. It's just like when I was talking on the last show with Alex Knight III, that on some issues, even among anarchists, the hate that you get on both sides, that all they can do is lob, libtard or retard, or you're this, you're that. It's why we don't talk about religion, period, on the show. It's just not worth all the hate. You want to hate on religious people? There's plenty of other shows you can do that. You want to hate on atheists and agnostics? Plenty of other shows for you to hate on. We want to actually do something positive here on the big show, and that is giving people the tools necessary to be able to defeat these attacks. And one of the things that I was going to speak about on the show on Saturday, but we weren't able to do that, is actually the chat and activism. Not so good with that activism stuff here on the big show. I don't, hey, I understand. I get it. But it's something I think we really need to work on. And I know even for myself, I have not been able to spend a lot of time on the chat. So we got two things going on here. We got the chat we want to clean up, and we've got the media reps. So we'll take these one at a time. The chat is set up. It's a Skype chat. I originally set it up so that my Frank Rizzo 3 was not bombarded by dozens and dozens and dozens of people posting. It was easier to just do that, and then eventually got to where people were, I had the idea during a show, we would start using the Skype chat for people who have been through this stuff already that wanted to do role-playing and help other people, And that's where it's actually worked out pretty good for the most part. But unfortunately, just like anything online, you're going to get the trolls. You're going to get the people who just want to be disruptive. You get the people who just want to talk about it's all a grand Jewish conspiracy and other stupid things like that. And it drives people out. Heaven forbid someone should actually post that they're a woman, which I should just kick ban anybody who makes any kind of misogynistic, or sexist claim. Which is why I usually recommend that people sign up and don't say whether they're a man or a woman. Just post with a different type of username. And it's unfortunate, but you are dealing with the damn internet. But it does work most of the time. It works pretty well. And yes, we have had people who have gone on the chat and have done the role playing and have gone on to have tickets thrown out. Jermaine is just one of them. Have they always gone in and gotten a ticket thrown out with prejudice? No, getting a ticket thrown out with prejudice is kind of a rare thing. You don't get that very often, whether you're working with me, the run-of-the-mill anarchist, or you actually spend money with a lawyer. Getting a dismissal with prejudice in traffic or drugs, you see, that's just not something that happens very often. It's just like getting a case reviewed with the United States Supreme Court or any Supreme Court, but especially with the U.S. Supreme Court. It's a numbers game. And even if you fit all the criteria, it's a nationwide problem. You can show where there were conflicting decisions in the lower court. You can get it all set up right. And they can say, bafon gould. And it is because it's a numbers game. They can only review so many. So anyway, so to get back, what we're doing in the role play, which I highly, highly recommend, is following the Socratic method and using basic principles of logic, regardless of what anybody says that you can't use logic in court. That's just ridiculous. And I've already covered that ground, so unless someone calls up about it, I'm not going to do it again in this show. So what we're doing in the chat, this is for people who want to learn how to effectively defend themselves. And how can I possibly say it's an effective way to defend yourself? Because I have documentation for the last 10 or more years showing that, where we've gone into court and had things tossed out. I had a parking ticket or a traffic study that I did, probably should pick that back up again, where I participated myself and went in and with witnesses, and I have the documentary proof of getting a ticket tossed out. And I can also show that there was ex parte communication between the judge and the police officer. And that's usually enough to get a judge, at least censored. Pretty bad situation for a party to talk to a judge ex parte like that. And ex parte meaning you're doing it without the benefit of the third, the defendant being there, or if it's a defendant talking to a judge. So the reason why we're using the chat is, of course, to help people. So please keep that in mind when you go to markstevens.net and you're joining the chat. If there's a lot of crap about Jewish conspiracies and other stuff, or people saying that my method, meaning the 2,500-year-old Socratic method, is not effective, let me know and we'll kick ban them out of there as soon as possible. But definitely let me know if there is disruption in the chat so that we can get them out of there as soon as possible. Also, we do have the forum, which I like the forum to be, another place. You can't really do much in real time, but you can post questions and you can post issues that happen there. And we do have a section there for media reps. So please keep that in mind. We do have the forum, which is on markstevens.net. I know it's been not the best, but hopefully we can, for this year, we can definitely make a change and make the forum work the way we like it to. At least as effective as the No State Project Skype chat has, which has been very effective. Again, if you want to bitch at somebody, if you want to talk about Jewish conspiracies, anybody can just start a chat for free on Skype, and you can invite people in who you think may be interested. And then they have the option of saying, how about phone call? I don't want to hear this crap anymore. It's no different. To me, it's like all this crap about the birth certificate and whatnot. Show me the proof. Show me the proof. Just because, all right, I'm not going to go. I'm not going to get into that stuff. It's just not worth it. So, what we have been able to do, since we do have people participating in the Skype chat on 3 continents, so we have 3 major time zones, there's usually somebody that is there available to be able to bring you into another, create another chat. This way you can make a voice call. And hopefully that is going to keep, that will continue. So we do have people in Australia that regularly post, and we do have people in London, in England, that regularly post. So that does help. If not, you still can post there and let them know, hey, I'm prepping for court. I'd like to be able to do some role-playing. And we do role-playing right here on the show. So if there was somebody that wanted to do some role-playing and get kind of a taste, maybe just get their feet wet and see and kind of gauge where they are and see what they need to work on, then, you're welcome to call into the show. That's primarily what the show is about. So hopefully our issues with the chat will come to an end real soon. So keep that in mind. If there is somebody in there who is talking nonsense and is bringing religious issues up in the chat, let me know. And if they continue, then we will kick ban them. Hey, I'm a Jew because my nose? That's cold, Jan. Wow. Yeah, I know. I'm half Sicilian. I've taken, yeah. Just get it out in the open there, guys. Oh my gosh, Mark Stevens has a big nose. Okay. Now let's get back to back to business. Oh my gosh, I haven't had a joke about the nose in quite a while. But yeah, jeez, yeah. Can we kind of zoom in on? See, okay, or the other one. Anyway, yeah, you know what they say. Big feet, size 12. So I know you. I know. I can take a joke about my nose. That's kind of not even a cheap shot at this particular point. But if someone's going to turn around and say I'm full of crap because I have such a large nose, then that's different. Then that's something I probably would address. Okay, so to get back to the actual chat, it says, oh, here's somebody, Dimitri, saying, this one I want to say, your method does make them think I made the judge/magistrate laugh a few times. You know, and I think, you know, I've seen that too. I've had that done also where, you know, I don't usually appreciate the laugh, at least in the heat of the moment. I'm like, hey, you know, you're in charge of a prison system there, tough guy. Let's take these things a little serious. If you want to joke around, let's do that on your time. My gray hair is due to a copper deficiency. No, I eat quite a bit of spinach, and I eat a lot of food that has a lot of iron in it, and even copper. So I don't think so. So I'm again, like I said, I'm half Sicilian. I've actually been going gray since I was 17. This is not a process that just started. Maybe 10 years ago, it just wasn't as easy to see the gray, but I'm no stranger to gray hair. And whether it's a copper deficiency, I've never seen any evidence where somebody was, you know, and I'm going to get a blood test here real soon that I'll post just to do the thing about people worried that because I'm a vegan that I'm not getting all my nutrition, not getting all my proteins and whatnot. So I want to show that, and I'll show the copper levels also. I'm pretty certain I'm not deficient in copper. It's I don't think I'm deficient in anything. And again, big nose means big brain. Yeah, that's what I heard. So anyway, I'm getting distracted by the chat. Someone's saying, "Are we getting into another vegan conversation?" No, I hadn't planned that. Again, what we're focused on in the chat is helping people do the role playing and go through the basic principles and tactics that we use and have used all these years, 20 years, to get these tickets and assessments thrown out, which we get thrown out on a regular basis. And that is keeping the burden of proof on the accuser. Anyone who argues with you and says that the accuser doesn't bear the burden of proof is just a fool. They're a fool or they're a troll, and in either case, you probably have no business talking with this person anymore. It's just like the Jewish conspiracy. You got to kick them. Not literally, but you got to kick them out. You can't waste your time on that. So, and the role playing has been invaluable because, especially when we do it on the show, because it gauges where you are in regards to how well you are at public speaking and defending yourself and countering just the barrage of BS that you're going to get from these people. And that's why I say so much about sticking to asking leading questions while assuming that everything streaming out of their mouth is a lie. Because most of it is. And if you assume that, because too many times, I can't tell you, one of the biggest things that people do is they accept what the judge or prosecutor say as true, okay, and don't challenge it. So they'll come back and they'll say on the show, or they'll email me and say, look, I got stumped. Well, what the hell could possibly stump you when you've got a criminal spewing nothing but lies? How can you get stumped with that? And then they'll relate to you, and this is something we do on the chat, they'll relate to you what happened, like, well, the judge says I can't do X. Okay. Did you think that was true? Well, I don't know. Did you object and ask him to prove it? Did you ask him to cite it? It's absolutely, so an example would be when they say that the prosecutor, I don't know. This is bewildering to me. I don't know how anybody could do the role playing and listen to the show and go in and have a judge actually tell them that the prosecution doesn't have to prove the foundation of their case. That they can actually argue without evidence. Well, they don't usually say that last part. This is the benefit, of course, of the role-playing and knowing the Socratic method, that you're asking leading questions. So when a judge says something like that to you, you ask a leading question. You can base it off of who, what, where, when, why, or how. There's only 6 to choose from. And so pick one. I mean, the idea that he doesn't have to prove it. He doesn't have to. So you ask him a leading question. You say, well, objection. He doesn't have to prove jurisdiction. It's not the most effective question, but it's a pretty damn good start. Always assume that they are lying. And so you can always do turnaround. I love this. Oh, you can ask a leading question. Is it fair for the prosecution to make a claim against me he doesn't have to prove? And then, of course, regular listeners to the show know how I follow that up. Oh, do I get to argue and make claims against the prosecution without evidence? That's pretty damn good. I'm going to take a little detour here, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to disagree with Martin. I'm going to butcher the first name, so I'm not going to say it. North Carolina court judges are the worst. They're all bad. I have news for you, Raymond. They're all bad. Everyone says the same thing. I've had anarchists tell me, well, I know Mark has had, we know he's had success in Canada and this, that, Australia, and all over the U.S., but it doesn't work here. It doesn't work in New Hampshire. Again, like I said, I've got news for you, Raymond. All judges are bad. Now, in an area, there's going to be a range of some that are better. There's going to be some that may not. Just sit back and let the prosecution do whatever the hell they want. Sure. I get it. I have been to courts and participated in courts all over this here continent. Well, not the whole continent. Canada, I've only done administrative stuff while sitting in a fortified compound. So, no. And that's probably a good topic of discussion here anyway. Do not fall for this trap where people will turn around and say, dude, don't do it in New Jersey. They are absolute animals. They are the single worst in the world. Or they're just a bit shy of China or Afghanistan. Don't do it in Jersey. No, we've had success in Jersey, and we've had success, I know, I hate to break it to the Free State Project people. We've had success in New Hampshire. Yes, we've had probably, at least personal to me, one of the most devastating losses in New Hampshire. That's true. But that doesn't mean for a moment that the bureaucrats in New Hampshire are really any different than the ones in New York, New Jersey, North Carolina. It doesn't, they're bad. Again, you've got a grade, of some. Again, it's an individual thing. Some are good, some are much, are better. They're all criminals. One thing we can agree on, whether it's North Carolina or Jersey, North Carolina or New Hampshire, they're all criminals. Some of them are still have some kind of commitment to the notion of justice, that they are there as fair, impartial, independent decision makers. Yeah, I'll throw up a little in my own mouth saying that. I get that. But we know that's true. We know that's true because we have evidence of that. I'll keep saying it and I'll post it here in the video. Tate up in Wisconsin got it thrown out with prejudice. Now, some have argued that it had nothing to do with the motion, that the motion was completely lacking in merit, which doesn't explain why the judge ordered the prosecution to respond in the first place, which they don't normally do. So it's been argued, it's not plausible at all, that the judge was pissed off at the prosecutor for not taking his order seriously because the prosecution just came back and said the motion's lacking in merit, which every one of these particular critics have said. The motion has no merit whatsoever. That was all the prosecution had to do. And yet they'll still complain and criticize and say, so I do know that there are some judges, a lot actually, that just sit back and let the prosecution stand on their own claim. And that's why we have so many nolo prosequis. I'll have that spelled out here. We have so many times when the prosecutor, especially recently, look in the last 6 months, we've got a lot of these. I posted 2 in one video where the prosecutor, rather than present the evidence, just withdrew. So, and that's because the judge doesn't, again, there's a percentage, there's some are worse. So don't fall for this trap. Somebody's saying here Nobel in Michigan. Yes, Nobel is one of the worst. And so obviously in a class of criminals, okay, some are going to rise higher. Okay, but they're not all of the same criminality. So yeah, I'll be yes, Richard Nobel in Michigan, one of the worst. That doesn't mean Michigan as a whole is worse than, let's say, New Hampshire. It's just Dick Nobel is a standout. We've got, I always mispronounce this, in a friend Bill, and this show, is, Bill's always been a very big supporter of the show, and I always, I do appreciate it, Bill. And Dan, in New Hampshire. I always mess up the guy's name. Desjardins, and I'll put his picture up in here. Yes, I'll say he is absolutely, like Dick Nobel, one of the worst, but that doesn't mean that New Hampshire has the worst compared to New Jersey or wherever it happens to be. So someone here is saying the judge in front of you is the worst. Nah, it could be. I like that comment. Again, it depends. And there was a study shown, hopefully I can find it for the podcast. The one you have to deal with is the worst. No. I've had some that, were pretty good. And the study I was referencing has to do with depending on what time of day you're seeing the judge. If it's right before lunch or right before they leave, the rulings they're off the charts bad. So that has something to do with it also. So getting back to the actual chat, and you go to markstevens.net and you can hit the link and brings you directly into the chat without any input from me. And maybe that was part of the problem why we had so many people getting in that were being disruptive. So if that seems to be a problem, let me know in the chat and I will do what I'll take that off the website. And so what I can do is I can just have the link to the chat in my instructions for when somebody goes to markstevens.net and purchases a motion template. But I want to move to the media rep. And this is something that has been very, very, very effective. Look, going into court, let no one kid you. I've never said that this is a walk in the park. It sucks. It absolutely sucks. I hope I never have to go to court again. I hate it. As an activist, yes, I'll force myself, and I'll go and I'll do it if I'm able to do that. But going to court always carries with it the risk of going to jail, that you will be held in contempt. I've posted before where a judge, I think it was in New York, put 40-some-odd people in jail because a cell phone went off. Okay? Yeah, having a cell phone go off can be disruptive. Is that a jailable offense? I don't think so. If you're a psychopath, if you're a power-hungry narcissist, that makes perfect sense. But normal people, not so much. So what is a media rep? This is something that we've done for years. I've actually done it myself and got threatened by Herbert Pierpan, Because, yeah, I'm from New York. I tend not to be able to keep my mouth shut. At least that's what I've been told. And I appeared as a media rep also to help Mike if I could, which I wasn't permitted to do that. So what we do as a media rep is we go in and we tell the bailiff, hey, I want you to let the judge know that I'm here for the media. I am doing a series of shows on judicial misconduct, and I just want the judge to know as a courtesy. Now, obviously, if we were doing this to find out how judges normally act, we wouldn't do that. We would just go in. I already know how they act. Everyone who's ever called in, most people have called into the show and listened to this this broadcast, knows how judges are. They're psychopaths. They have they have very, very poor coping skills. I don't know who's worse, a judge or a cop. Who's got the worst coping skills? I would say that, in my experience, it seems to be judges. Because judges have the added bonus of an audience that is watching you question them. So you're humiliating them in front of their audience. With a police officer, he doesn't have an audience. That would probably make things, a hell of a lot worse. So we tell the bailiff, let them know. You don't have to let them know what media you're from. Say, look, if it's an issue about me being from the media, scratch what I said. I'm just a member of the public here. I'm just a member of the public. You don't have to have a press badge to just observe court proceedings. It's ridiculous. But we do that and let the judge know so that he's on better behavior. The benefit of having the judge on better behavior is because he's not going to intimidate you to quite the degree he would otherwise. In our experience, the judge is far less likely to start yelling, screaming, and threatening you with contempt. That's our experience. Very few people have reported to us where the judge started getting very animated and very, angry and raising his voice when the media rep was there. Now, obviously, this is not some kind of panacea. Yeah. It doesn't mean the judge is going to do the right thing. But it's made it easier for you and I to defend ourselves, especially if you're new to this. Having a judge start yelling and screaming and acting like a spoiled 5-year-old bitch, that's not the most conducive thing to keeping a level head and asking the right questions and making your objections. So there's the benefit for that. Okay? So keep that in mind. So when we go on the chat, we go on the forum, post details like we had on the show the other day. And you know what? I did not write it down. But he was going into Garfield County Court on the 9th. So we post these details so that other people in the area may be able to see that. And then you have contact information, which is easy on Skype, on the No State Project Skype chat, so that you can then be able to contact them and let them know, hey, I'm going to be there. Because having someone there to help support you, that really, really helps. To know that you're not doing this alone, okay? Because I remember reading Spooner's book for the first time and being blown away by No Treason, the Constitution and Authority. And realizing, oh my gosh, I'm not the only lunatic out there who sees through the fiction of the state and can see that there is no government. They're just men and women forcing us to pay them. Then, of course, getting online and getting with all you other crazy anarchists is a big help. So, yes, it does help. And plus, they can actually help you role play on your way to court or outside the court. And another thing, too, is they're a witness. And we've had a number of times here on the show, not too many times, not too many. And judges will rule against you, like Herbert Pierpan in Scottsdale, who ruled against Mike. And Dan was there too, so Dan and I were both witnesses to this. Ruled against Mike, saying he wasn't there. It happens. Someone called and got a warrant issued for his arrest. Now, as a disclaimer here, we are not talking about doing the all caps name. If you go into court and you play that stupid game where the judge says, is John Doe here. And you say, I'm here as the administrator. That's different. We're not talking about that. You do stupid stuff like, hey, you play stupid games, you win stupid prizes. Isn't that the, the line? Don't do the name game, and I'm not going to waste my time on another broadcast for that. You can go back into the archives, and you can see where we've debunked that stuff thoroughly. If there's still somebody who thinks that they have evidence showing that the name game is right, that the name in all caps is a corporation, if you think you have evidence to prove that, call a Saturday broadcast. We're live for 3 straight hours. We've got a lot of time to provide you the opportunity to present the evidence. 4 to 7 Eastern Standard Time, but I don't see that happening. So having a witness there is very important when they try to pull this crap that you're not there. Now, I know Mike lost his appeal, and this is what I think is a big reason. When in Arizona, there is no second appeal on a traffic case unless it's criminal. So if they hit you with a minor civil, you can only appeal it one time. So the judge can do whatever he wants. They can say, and this has been said, there's no right of cross-examination in a traffic appeal. In a traffic trial. It's complete BS, but it's never going to get reviewed. And so the same thing here. Even though Mike was able to show he was there and Herbert Pierpan was a lying piece of crap, they still affirmed it. Because we're still dealing with criminals. But I wouldn't say that Mike's example means that they're always going to. So have the media rep there, keep the judge on better behavior, and also have the witness there in case the judge pulls this crap that you're not there. And if they pull that, take a risk. Say, excuse me, I can see he's right here. I will testify against you if I have the chance. Ay, with these people. So that's why we want to do. The media rep has always been a very big help for that, and like to be able to see that happen again. We've got the Skype chat, so you can post and meet other people who are going through this. And if you're not on there and you want contact with somebody, you can contact me at FrankRizzo3, and then I can forward your contact information to them, which I do on a fairly regular basis. Okay, and remember, we do have the chat at the forum at markstevens.net, just so you can use that. So, there's someone in the chat that is schooling to be a lawyer, and he claims that bar members are okay to challenging jurisdiction like we do. What are the problems that can arise? Well, I've never said that bar members can't. They just choose not to. Well, hopefully they can call into the broadcast. Do we have any callers? You people are killing me today. All right, so someone who is yes, lawyers can do that. I actually worked with a lawyer years ago that I've mentioned on the show, and we were challenging, and I was writing the paperwork, and she was signing it, so I was setting the strategy. And so she wound up getting disbarred from the tax court, which, who cares? Who the hell wants to go to the tax court anyway? That place is just awful. And she got disbarred. And so she called me as if I was the problem, okay? And so I remember like it happened yesterday. She's screaming at me, you're not challenging the IRS's authority. You're challenging the actual government itself. This is news to you? Yeah. Didn't you read? I understand. You were just taking Mr. X's money to just sign the documents without reading them. I think it's BS anyway, because I think she was reading them. I just believe she saw the logic there. She understood that the prosecution bears the burden of proof, the IRS bears the burden of proof, and you say, well, Mark, they have a presumption of correctness. Again, we'll put in the video here. No, they only have a presumption of correctness when the assessment is based on what? Evidence. Facts. Prima facie, that these facts, if taken as true, prove the claim is true and support the claim, then they have a presumption of correctness, and the burden then shifts to you to show where they're wrong. So, Adamson versus Commissioner is one of the many, many cases that say that. I think another one is Helvering versus Taylor. If you could, because if you can show a tax assessment is not based on facts, that's arbitrary in with some part, then yes, they lose their presumption of correctness and they have to throw it out. What are the problems that can arise from bar members doing that? I believe they can be held. It's no different than us, except it's far worse. They can threaten the attorney with contempt. They can. What makes it worse is that they can not only sanction the attorney for an ungodly amount of money, because I've seen that before, but they can also recommend that they be disbarred. Because attorneys, see, one of the big differences between me and an attorney, aside from the fact that I'm not a crook, and I don't have to rely on a monopoly to make trades, to have people trade with me. The big thing is that attorneys can be disbarred. I'm not a member of the Bar Association. I've never said that I was. I have never held myself out as a piece of I've never held myself out as one of these people who require a monopoly to trade. I don't need a monopoly to do that. I can actually talk to people and provide the service that I say I provide. And attorneys rely on that bar membership. Well, yeah, there are other things that attorneys can do if they're disbarred, but it doesn't look too good for someone to try to get another job after they've been disbarred. So that is definitely something that an attorney has to look at. And plus, again, the sanctions that they can get. They cannot be disbarred, but they can have their license suspended, and then they could be limited on what kind of work they can do, that they can never work in that profession for a certain amount of time. And when you work as part of a monopoly, as part of a criminal organization, because of that, you can command a obscene amount of money. Far more money than people would normally pay for such work. Far more. And if you can't keep your license and work in that profession, chances are you're not going to be able to maintain your lifestyle. So that's one of the big risks. Attorneys make an obscene amount of money. You want to just go look at the average rate for an attorney. Hundreds of dollars an hour. Hundreds. And you have to have a retainer. So just to even get to look at your case, depending on what it is, it could be a minimum of 15 grand. I mean, I think at one point one lawyer said it was something like for federal court, it was a $50,000 retainer. How many people have 50 grand lying around? They charge you for paper clips, these people. Look, I've known my share of attorneys. I'm not saying all of them do this, but a lot of attorneys charge you for a paper clip. I knew one lawyer who charged for time he was thinking about the case in the shower. See, when you take a $50,000 retainer or even a $5,000 retainer, the object is to burn it as fast as possible. That's why you have the joke, the lawyer running to prison to talk to his client about, oh, we can reopen the appeal. There's newly discovered evidence. Wow, really? What is it? I found a bank account of yours that we didn't know about before. It's all about separating you from your damn money. So that's the problem that you're going to have regarding attorneys generally. The other side of it too, and someone mentioned this, thank you. I don't know if this is in regards to the attorneys challenging jurisdiction, but the attorneys are also going to probably subject themselves to a forced mental examination. Because why else would someone so educated with a Juris Doctorate degree go ahead and challenge the very foundation of the prosecution's case if he wasn't crazy? Right? You got to be crazy to challenge the very foundation of the prosecution's case. Isn't that the way it works? Crazy. Son of a... This guy's unhinged. Why? The prosecutor said the laws apply and he violated it and he's challenging it. This SOB is crazy. He's unhinged. He has separated from reality, ladies and gentlemen. Rational thought has left the building. So let's use some of our force, which we have immunity from using, and say he's crazy. Crazy. In fact, I do recommend this. I should get this in the show notes. Corbett Report, the part 2 of why Big Oil took over the world, where they discuss a horrifying case of eugenics and forced sterilization, where they just lied and said a young girl was feeble-minded in order to justify mutilating her healthy body. Yeah. So the idea that they have to actually prove you're crazy, that's the stuff of nightmares, because they don't. You just have to have some scumbag in a black robe who doesn't like what you're doing. And this comes back to why it is so important to know the very basics, because it's not a very difficult process, and do the role-playing in the No Stay Project Skype chat. Because I know from what people have told me, because they're new to this, and it's the first time going to court, and yes, it's just traffic most of the time, where they're very... What's the word? There's anxiety that they have over challenging the applicability of the code. Because it's just something that they've always taken for granted for their whole lives. And they think that everybody knows this. I don't know if I can go in and seriously challenge the applicability of the law. Well, keep in mind, you're challenging a police officer's legal conclusion. And so don't think of it that you're going in and you're throwing a monkey wrench and challenging the entire system. Look at it for what it is. A police officer makes a legal conclusion against you. He writes it up on a ticket, hands it into the court, as if he has evidence that the court has jurisdiction. Because if I filed into a court a complaint against someone, especially them, and it was obvious the court didn't have jurisdiction, they would have every justification to sanction me for filing a false complaint. Well, filing where I knew there wasn't evidence of jurisdiction. It's one thing to do it out of ignorance, especially if you're in Pennsylvania. It would be very easy to file into the wrong court. Anyone familiar with the Pennsylvania court system? Holy crap. And I'm talking about the organization, not that they're any worse than New Hampshire or New Jersey. But if you know better, that's bad. And so the police officer is doing that. The entire foundation of their case, as we've said so many times, is that you're physically in Pennsylvania or wherever, the laws apply, I saw you violate it. And he's filing it into court as if the court has personal jurisdiction over you, or even territorial. And there's not a shred of evidence, of course, that they do. And he has to know that, or is negligent in not knowing it. He's not excused. Some may say, well, he's not a lawyer, you know, it doesn't matter. There's an exception in the code that I've posted in other videos where they are allowed to practice law, otherwise practice law, and engage in what attorneys do if they are government employees. And police officers are. So they are legally, have a legal exception and may do that. But we're going in and challenging the police officer. So remember why I coach it in those terms, or couch it in those terms, or frame it this way for a particular reason. Has the prosecution met their prima facie burden by showing sufficient evidence to prove that the Constitution and Code apply to me, because I'm physically in Arizona? Because they have that particular burden. Yeah, they're going to be doing a role play in the chat right after the show. And that's a common thing, too, where people will stream the show and then after the show will do a role play. And another thing about the role play that I've mentioned before that really helps, definitely get into the chat and do the role play. But when we're talking about having to prepare for court, and again, we've only had like 2 people do this. Go to a city council meeting. Go to a city commissioner. Go to one of those meetings. Even just call them up. If you really want to help yourself prep for court, confront them face to face in public where there's a lot less chance that they're going to start yelling and screaming. Usually if they get upset, you walk out. So I plan on doing that again. I'm not saying do it in your own backyard because I am not doing it with the Mesa City Council. I will not do that. I've learned my lesson. I don't go to the police department in Mesa, and I certainly will not go to the City Council. But I'll probably go back to Tempe. And maybe I'll go, a little bit further east, and I'll go to somewhere in Apache Junction. And this is what you can do. And I will put in the video the actual questions, maybe get that in the show notes. You want to confront them on the issue of jurisdiction, just like you're going to do in court. The difference is you're not going to be saying objection. And it's getting you used to speaking in public and making this challenge. And we need more people to do this. Get it up on YouTube. Get it publicized. Put it on all the social media. Hell, I've even going to be using a smartphone to be able to help with this, where you can go to Facebook or you can live stream on Instagram. And you can live stream it. Let people see this. People need to know and see the evidence for themselves. If we're going to get to a voluntary society, if we're going to be able to basically take over the services provided by a city and have them done without a prison system, people need to know that they're dealing with criminals. And one of the ways we do that is by confronting the criminals directly at their city council meetings. And not even necessarily that the answer, but I don't have enough time to discuss that. But what the questions we're asking, at least this for if you're prepping for court, and I can't tell you how much this really does help. If I was to do things like sorry, that's the other question. The jurisdiction issue is, I know you guys operate under the presumption that if I'm physically in Arizona, then your laws apply to me. And that's the basis of your jurisdiction. And then, yeah, okay, yeah. Then you follow up. Remember, this is part of the Socratic method. We're asking leading questions, and then we want the proof. We want to bring out the contradiction. We know there's not a shred of evidence. We know that. We want to teach people. We want to expose these people for the crooks that they are. And that's why the follow-up question is, do you have any evidence proving that claim is true, that just because I'm physically in Arizona, your Constitution applies to me? I wish we had more of these these judges appearing at the ASU Law Library, because I'd go. And if somebody does see that, and you make me aware of that. So if there are judges speaking in the Phoenix Valley, especially at the ASU Law School, let me know, and I will definitely do my damnedest to get there. I'll even change if it's a Wednesday at 4, I'll change the time of the show. So if I'm able to do it, I'll get out there and do it. Very, very effective at showing that, because look, it's coming from their own mouth. That's why it was even more effective with Scott Bales as Supreme Court Chief Justice, as opposed to the interview I did with Robert Diab. He's not a government. He doesn't have. He's not like a senator or anything like that. He's a law professor. So while it was a great interview and showed and took a lot of credibility and validity away from the concept of government, it's not as effective as having a sitting city councilman say that they have jurisdiction because they said so. Okay? It's always better to hear from the horse's mouth themselves than to have a law professor or someone else do that. I appreciate all the comments. If you would like to see me do more shows where we talk about getting to a voluntary society and how that would actually work out, let me know in the comments, and or you can Skype me at FrankRizzo3 and let me know. And if you are interested in going to a city council meeting and you'd like to talk to me first, great. Just contact me again at FrankRizzo3. Again, this has been episode 46 of the No State Project live stream here on YouTube, commercial free. And till next time, salute.